The massive alien fleet appeared without warning, their obsidian ships blotting out the stars like a cosmic curtain. Earth's various space monitoring stations erupted in chaos as radar signatures lit up their screens. Across the globe, civilians pointed their phones skyward, social media exploding with shaky footage of the dark shapes looming above major cities. Admiral Vexitor of the Kraxian Empire stood on his command bridge, mandibles twitching with barely contained amusement. These humans, with their primitive technology and fractured political system, would surely surrender at first sight of his mighty armada. He smoothed down his ceremonial armor and gestured to his communications officer. "Open a channel to their pathetic excuse for a planetary government," he commanded, voice dripping with condescension. The transmission cut into every broadcasting frequency on Earth. Vexitor's imposing figure appeared on screens worldwide, his grey-scaled skin reflecting the harsh bridge lighting, 4 eyes blinking in sequence, ornate armor adorned with the skulls of conquered species. "People of Earth," he announced, pausing for dramatic effect. "Your insignificant civilization has drawn the attention of the Kraxian Empire. Your continued existence is an affront to galactic order. You have 1 Earth rotation to surrender unconditionally. Resist, and we will reduce your cities to ash." At the United Nations Security Council emergency session, representatives from world powers sat in stunned silence. The Chinese delegate was furiously typing on his tablet. The Russian representative had already drained 3 glasses of water. The British delegate kept adjusting his tie, while his French counterpart had gone through half a pack of cigarettes. Commander Jessica Blake strode into the chamber, her decorated uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's newly formed United Defence Force. She'd been woken up at 3 a.m. for this, and her coffee hadn't kicked in yet. The bags under her eyes spoke of countless contingency drills run for exactly this scenario. "Commander Blake," the Secretary-General addressed her, voice trembling. "What are our options?" Blake glanced at her tablet, then at the looming ships displayed on the chamber's main screen. A smirk played across her lips as she pulled up classified files that only a handful of people knew existed. "Well," she drawled, running a hand through her short auburn hair, "I say we give Admiral Four Eyes up there exactly what he's asking for." She paused, enjoying the confused looks around the room. "A proper Earth welcome." The German representative leaned forward. "Commander, surely you're not suggesting we—" "Oh, I absolutely am," Blake interrupted, her grin widening. "See, while our friend up there was busy practicing his supervillain speech in the mirror, we've had decades to prepare for this moment. Project Phoenix isn't just a myth, ladies and gentlemen." She tapped her tablet, and holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showing weapons systems and defense platforms that had been hidden in plain sight. The delegates' eyes widened as they realized what they were seeing. "Send our response to the good Admiral," Blake said, cracking her knuckles. "Tell him." She chuckled. "Is that all you've got? Because, honey, you just brought a knife to a gunfight, and we've got an entire arsenal you haven't even imagined." Admiral Vexitor made good on his threat exactly 1 Earth rotation later. His ships descended through the atmosphere like angry wasps, weapon systems humming with enough power to level continents. The first plasma bolts struck toward New York, Moscow, and Beijing simultaneously. Then something unexpected happened. The energy beams hit invisible barriers, dispersing in spectacular arrays of color that lit up the sky like aurora borealis. Vexitor's jaw dropped as his bridge crew scrambled to make sense of their readings. "Impossible!" he sputtered, all 4 eyes widening. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." Commander Blake's voice crackled through their communication system. "Sorry to disappoint, but we picked up a few tricks while you weren't looking. Hey, quick question. Did you guys ever wonder why we broadcast so many sci-fi shows into space? We were crowdsourcing ideas." In the UDF command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, Blake orchestrated humanity's response. Holographic displays showed real-time battle data as she moved units like chess pieces. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, her tactical officer, couldn't help but grin as their carefully laid plans unfolded. "Release the mosquitoes," Blake ordered, sipping her fourth coffee of the day. "Let's show them what Earth hospitality looks like." Thousands of tiny drones, no bigger than actual mosquitoes, swarmed out from hidden launch sites. They slipped through the gaps in Kraxian shields, gaps that existed because who would design defenses against something so small? The drones carried payloads of specialized nanites, programmed to disrupt Kraxian technology from the inside out. "Ma'am," Rodriguez called out, "first wave of mosquitoes has reached their target, implementing Operation Party Crasher." The nearest Kraxian destroyer suddenly lost power, its engines sputtering as the nanites did their work. The massive ship began to list sideways, its crew panicking as system after system failed. Blake had specifically programmed the nanites to leave life support and artificial gravity functional. She wanted survivors to tell the tale. "You know what the funny thing is?" Blake broadcasted to the alien fleet. "We actually learned this trick from carpenter ants. Tiny things that can take down entire structures. Nature is neat like that." Vexetor's response was predictably furious. He ordered his remaining ships to open fire with everything they had. Energy weapons, plasma torpedoes and antimatter missiles streaked toward Earth's cities. But humanity had another surprise waiting. The Umbrella network activated. Quantum-linked satellites created overlapping fields that didn't just block the attacks, they redirected them. The Kraxian fleet watched in horror as their own weapons turned back on them, guided by Earth's orbital defense grid. "So now, did you really think we spent the last century just inventing better ways to take selfies?" Blake quipped as 3 Kraxian cruisers erupted in flames. "Those satellites you thought were for cat videos? Multi-purpose, baby." In orbit above Sydney, the first Kraxian ship attempted to retreat. Its engines powered up for a jump to faster-than-light speed, but the calculations were off. The quantum entanglement field from Earth's satellites had scrambled their navigation systems. The ship disappeared in a flash, only to reappear seconds later inside Jupiter's atmosphere. The gas giant's crushing pressure did the rest. "Commander," Rodriguez reported, trying not to laugh, "they're attempting to regroup near Mars. Should we proceed with Phase 2? Blake leaned back in her chair, watching the chaos unfold on her screens. The remaining alien ships were clustering together like scared cattle. Their formations had broken down completely. Several more vessels had been disabled by the mosquito drones, floating helplessly in space. "Oh, honey," she said, patting her console affectionately, "we're just getting started. Signal Admiral Chen, it's his turn to play. And somebody get me another coffee. This is better than movie night." Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UDS Prometheus, humanity's first antimatter-powered warship, hidden beneath the lunar surface. For 20 years they'd kept this beauty under wraps, along with the rest of Earth's real space fleet. The public thought these massive excavations were for mining operations. Technically true, they were mining intelligence from every alien transmission that passed through the solar system. "Status report," Chen commanded, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays. "All systems green, sir," Lieutenant Amanda Torres responded from her station. "The Kraxians still haven't detected us. Their sensors are completely focused on the orbital defense grid." Chen smiled, remembering an old saying his grandmother used to repeat. "The best place to hide is in plain sight." Begin Operation Paper Tiger. Let's show them what humanity's been cooking up in our spare time. The lunar surface split open like a blooming flower, revealing not 1 but 12 warships. Each vessel incorporated technology reverse-engineered from 7 different alien civilizations that had carelessly transmitted their technical specifications through Earth's space sector. "Admiral Vexetor," Chen broadcast on an open channel, "I believe it's time we had a proper introduction. I hope you don't mind that we borrowed some design ideas from your friends in the Centauri sector. Their ships have such lovely weak points." The Kraxian command ship's response came immediately. "This is impossible. You're nothing but primitives who barely reached your own moon." "Oh, that's right," Chen replied, unable to keep the amusement from his voice. "Speaking of the moon landing, funny story." Remember those grainy videos? We made them look that way on purpose. The real footage was much too advanced for that era. Had to keep up appearances, you know. The lunar fleet emerged fully, their hulls shimmering with metamaterials that could bend both light and gravity. Chen had always thought they looked like abstract art pieces, beautiful and lethal. "Torres, activate the Tesla arrays," he ordered. "Let's show them why we kept Nicola's best works classified." Massive coils of electromagnetic energy sprang to life between the Earthships, creating a web of artificial lightning. The Kraxians watched in confusion as their advanced sensors registered nothing but static. What they didn't realize was that humans had discovered something profound. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones. "Fun fact," Chen broadcast as the Tesla arrays powered up. "We figured out you folks never developed certain technologies because they seemed too primitive. That's the thing about humans. We never throw away a good idea just because it's old." The electromagnetic web suddenly pulsed, sending waves of energy that turned the Kraxian ship's own power systems against them. Their antimatter containment fields fluctuated dangerously. Shield harmonics went haywire, and their supposedly hack-proof quantum computers struggled with good old-fashioned electromagnetic interference. "Sir?" Torres called out, suppressing a chuckle. "They're trying to adapt by rerouting power through their secondary systems." "Just as we predicted," Chen nodded. "Release the Faraday swarms." Thousands of small, seemingly primitive satellites deployed from the Earth ships. The Kraxians, in their arrogance, ignored them as harmless debris. Big mistake. These satellites were based on technology from the 1800s, precisely because no modern alien race would think to defend against it. The swarms surrounded the alien vessels, creating localized disruption fields that played havoc with their advanced systems. It was like trying to run a quantum computer in the middle of a lightning storm. Technically possible, but definitely not recommended. "You know what your biggest mistake was?" Chen asked the increasingly frustrated alien fleet. "You assumed that because we didn't show off all our toys, we didn't have any. Here's a human saying for you. Never bring a quantum phase disruptor to an electromagnetic fight." In the UDF command center, Commander Blake watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Looking good, Marcus. Want to show them what happens when we combine your Tesla arrays with my mosquitoes?" "I thought you'd never ask," Chen replied. "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for what we like to call the Benjamin Franklin special. Because sometimes the best way to advance science is to go fly a kite in a lightning storm." The Kraxian fleet was about to learn another painful lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. Sometimes, the species that masters both the future and the past is the most dangerous of all. The space around Mars had turned into a cosmic light show. Disabled Kraxian ships drifted like dead satellites, while Earth's forces pressed their advantage. But Admiral Vexitor wasn't finished yet. He'd gathered his remaining fleet into a desperate defensive formation near Phobos, Mars' largest moon. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper watched from the cockpit of his X-77 Chimera fighter, drumming his fingers on the control panel. The experimental craft was officially classified as a high-altitude atmospheric research vehicle, which was technically true if you considered the atmospheres of other planets. "Control, this is Crazy Cooper," he transmitted, using the call sign he'd earned at flight school. "Request permission to try something monumentally stupid." Commander Blake's voice crackled through his comms. "Cooper, the last time you said that, you flew through an active volcano to avoid radar detection. And it worked, didn't it?" A sigh. "What's your plan?" Cooper grinned, pulling up the telemetry data on his heads-up display. "Remember those old videos of dogs herding sheep? Well, I've been studying Kraxian ship behavior patterns, and they're acting exactly like scared livestock." There was a long pause before Blake responded. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Their ships are clustering together near Phobos because they think it provides tactical coverage," Cooper explained. "But what if we used their own paranoia against them? I've got a crazy idea involving the Martian dust storms, their shield harmonics, and about 50,000 tons of space debris. Meanwhile, aboard the Kraxian command ship, internal tensions were reaching a breaking point. Subcommander Nexar approached Vexator's position, mandibles twitching nervously. "Admiral," Nexar spoke cautiously, "the crew is questioning our strategy. These humans, they're not following any known combat doctrine. Our tactical computers can't predict their next move." "Because they're insane," Vexator snapped, smashing a display panel. "What species uses technology from their industrial age alongside quantum weapons? What military commander quotes ancient entertainment broadcasts during battle?" "That's exactly my point, sir," Nexar pressed. "Perhaps we should consider—" "Consider what? Retreat? Before these primitive barbarians?" Back in Cooper's cockpit, preparation for his insane plan was underway. Earth's ships had been subtly herding the Kraxian fleet into position, using electronic warfare to nudge them exactly where Cooper wanted them. "Beginning Operation Sheepdog," he announced. "Activating gravitational tethers now." Cooper's fighter zoomed toward Mars' surface, skimming so low that red dust clouded his view screen. He'd synchronized his ship's systems with the massive dust storms below, using them as cover. Behind him, 50 other fighters followed in tight formation, each towing what appeared to be space junk. "You're all insane," Admiral Chen's amused voice came through the comms. "I love it. Tesla arrays standing by to provide electromagnetic cover." On the Kraxian command ship, a junior officer suddenly shouted, "Admiral, multiple small craft approaching from the Martian surface." Vexator leaned forward. "Dispatch fighters to intercept." "Sir," another officer interrupted, "massive electromagnetic disturbance detected. Our targeting systems are—" That's when Cooper's plan hit them. Literally. His squadron had used the gravitational tethers to gather thousands of pieces of space debris, everything from old satellites to asteroid fragments. As they pulled up from Mars' surface, they released their cargo directly into a massive dust storm, which their electromagnetic systems had charged to create a swirling vortex of electrically charged particles and space junk. The Kraxian fleet, already packed tightly together, found themselves caught in what appeared to be a localized space hurricane. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, did nothing against the simple kinetic impacts of countless small objects. "What is this madness?" Vexator demanded, as his ship shuddered. Cooper's voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Ever hear of a little thing called weather manipulation? We've been practicing on Mars for decades. You folks really should have checked what we were doing with all those climate satellites." The dust storm, enhanced by the Tesla arrays, had turned into a swirling nightmare of electromagnetic energy, debris, and charged particles. Kraxian ships crashed into each other trying to escape, their formation completely broken. That's when the real psychological warfare began. Earth's ships started broadcasting on Kraxian frequencies, not threats or demands, but rather carefully selected entertainment content. Specifically, old episodes of nature documentaries showing predator-prey relationships. "Sir," Nexar reported, horror in his voice, They're comparing us to herd animals being stalked by predators, and they're broadcasting it to the entire fleet." The effect on Kraxian morale was devastating. Their military doctrine relied heavily on psychological dominance, and now they were being portrayed as prey animals in their own tactical databases. Cooper's voice came through again. "By the way, those dust storms? They're not just for show. Each particle is carrying a payload of our friend Commander Blake's nanites. Hope you folks remembered to change your air filters." As if on cue, multiple Kraxian ships began reporting system failures. The nanites had found their way in through ventilation systems, maintenance ports, and the smallest stress fractures caused by debris impacts. "Status report," Blake demanded from Earth Command. Cooper's response was practically gleeful. "Ma'am, I think we just invented a new weather phenomenon. I'm calling it a Category 5 space hurricane. Also, permission to trademark that name." The space around Phobos had become a graveyard of disabled Kraxian ships, their mighty fleet reduced to floating hulks by a combination of dust, debris, and human ingenuity. And somewhere in that chaos, a human pilot was humming an old song about sheep being led to slaughter. Admiral Vexitor stood amid the wreckage of his bridge, surrounded by malfunctioning systems and the sounds of defeat. Half his fleet was disabled, a quarter had surrendered, and the rest were scattered across the solar system. But he still had one card left to play. "Begin charging the Nova cannon," he commanded, his voice hollow. "Target their primitive homeworld." Sub-Commander Nexar stepped forward. "Sir, the weapon will destroy our remaining ships as well." "Then we die with honor," Vexitor roared. "Better that than surrender to barbarians who defeat us with weather and insects." On Earth, Commander Blake watched the energy readings with raised eyebrows. "Well, someone's having a tantrum. Admiral Chen, you seeing this?" "Affirmative," Chen responded from the Prometheus. "Looks like our friend is planning to go out with a bang. Lieutenant Cooper, status on Operation Golden Ticket?" Cooper's fighter weaved through the debris field surrounding Vexitor's command ship. "Package is ready for delivery, sir, though I still think the name needs work." Blake smirked. "Less critiquing, more delivering. Execute the final phase." The Nova cannon began to glow, its massive barrel extending from the Kraxian flagship. Energy readings went off the scale as it prepared to fire a blast that would crack Earth's crust. Vexitor watched with manic satisfaction as the weapon powered up. "Send our final transmission," he ordered. "Let them see their doom approach." The ship suddenly lurched violently. Warning alerts blared across every console. "What now?" Vexitor demanded. A technician looked up in confusion. "Sir, something is accessing our mainframe, but it's not possible. It's coming through our entertainment systems." Cooper's voice filled the bridge. "Remember those cat videos we supposedly wasted time on? Turns out they were encoded with quantum algorithms. You guys really should have better firewalls." The Nova cannon's glow changed from threatening red to a rather festive blue. Across the ship, systems began acting independently, screens displaying what appeared to be dancing cats. "What is this madness?" Vexitor screamed. Blake's voice joined the broadcast. "Fun fact. While you were busy charging your big gun, we figured out your operating system is based on trinary code. Guess what else uses trinary patterns? Those cat videos you ignored. We basically just gave your whole fleet a virus by weaponizing cute pet compilations." The Nova cannon suddenly turned, pointing away from Earth and directly at a specific point in space. Before Vexitor could react, it fired. The energy beam shot out into the void and disappeared into what looked like a rippling hole in space. "Ladies and gentlemen," Cooper announced, "I give you humanity's latest breakthrough in stellar engineering, a contained quantum singularity. Thanks for the power source." Earth's fleet moved in perfect coordination, herding the remaining Kraxian ships into a tight formation. The Prometheus led the charge, its Tesla arrays now fully powered by the energy stolen from the Nova cannon. "Here's another human saying for you," Chen broadcast. "Never bring a superweapon to a physics fight." Vexitor watched in horror as his mighty flagship was systematically shut down by what appeared to be a combination of cat memes, quantum mathematics, and criminally creative human engineering. Blake's final transmission was the coup de grace. "By the way, those entertainment broadcasts we've been sending into space for centuries, they weren't just for fun. Each one contained fragments of code that, when assembled correctly, gave us complete access to any system based on trinary architecture. We've been hacking you since the invention of television." The remaining Kraxian ships surrendered within minutes. As Earth's forces secured their victory, celebration erupted across the planet. In Times Square, crowds watched on massive screens as Cooper led a squadron of fighters in a victory roll past the captured Kraxian flagship. In the UN Security Council chamber, Blake accepted Vexitor's formal surrender with a tablet stylus that, she noted with amusement, had more computing power than the alien's entire command system. "Just one question," Vexitor asked, his pride thoroughly shattered. "How did primitives like you defeat the greatest armada in the galaxy?" Blake smiled, patting him on his armored shoulder. "That's the thing about humans, Admiral. We never stopped being primitives. We just got really, really good at it. Now, who's up for watching some cat videos? I hear they're all the rage in space these days. 6 months after the Kraxian surrender, Earth had changed remarkably little, except for the alien tourist ships now regularly visiting Times Square. The defeated Kraxian vessels had been converted into orbital hotels, their weapons systems replaced with luxury suites and observation decks. Commander Blake stood at the newly constructed Galactic Embassy podium, addressing representatives from 17 alien civilizations. The conference room buzzed with translators and hovering camera drones. "As Earth's first galactic relations officer," she announced, suppressing a grin, "I'm pleased to welcome you all to our humble planet. We've prepared information packets about human culture. And yes, before you ask, we included explanations of cat videos." The alien diplomats shuffled nervously. The recent defeat of the mighty Kraxian Empire by what they'd considered a backwater civilization had sparked a complete reorganization of galactic politics, particularly after humanity revealed they'd been collecting data on every passing alien ship for the past century. Lieutenant Cooper, now heading Earth's new innovative defense division, had turned the famous space hurricane tactic into an official military doctrine. The Galactic Senate was still trying to figure out how to classify weather as a weapon. Admiral Chen's lunar fleet had emerged as the galaxy's premier space force, though most aliens were still baffled by humanity's insistence on using outdated technology alongside quantum physics. The sight of Tesla coils on antimatter warships apparently gave advanced races headaches. In the back of the conference room, former Admiral Vexitor sat as part of the Kraxian diplomatic team. He'd written a best-selling memoir titled How I Lost to Primitive Geniuses, A Cautionary Tale. The camera drones kept sneaking shots of him whenever cat videos played on the presentation screens. "Moving forward," Blake continued, "Earth is happy to share our unique approach to technological development. We call it the kitchen sink method. Throw everything at the problem and see what sticks. Sometimes literally, in the case of our quantum adhesive experiments." The alien diplomats took careful notes. Several had already started research programs into human entertainment broadcasts, trying to decrypt what other secrets might be hidden in centuries of reality TV shows and soap operas. "Oh, and one more thing," Blake added casually. "Those mysterious signals from deep space everyone's been detecting. That's just our new defense network. We figured since everyone expects mysterious space signals to be natural phenomena, it was the perfect cover. We're calling it Project Nothing to See Here." The room erupted in nervous chatter. Blake smiled, remembering how this all started with one overconfident alien fleet and an ultimatum. Now, Earth was becoming a major galactic power, mostly because humans were too stubborn to accept limitations and too creative for their own good. "Welcome to the future, everyone," she concluded. "It's weird, it's wonderful, and yes, we're still going to keep making cat videos. Because sometimes the best way to hide advanced technology is in plain sight, wrapped in furry cuteness and memes." The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in orbit, a Kraxian tourist was watching a cat video for the very first time, completely unaware of the quantum equations hidden in its code.